Hey everybody, Matt with Occidental Nomad here. Today I wanted to do a little bit of a different video. I'm parked here at Walmart right now, but I want to talk a little bit about finding areas to camp for free in your vehicle. You'll also see it referred to as stealth camping sometimes, boondocking. Boondocking's more for out in the rural areas, but and I'm definitely not stealth with my with my trailer. It pretty much shows I've converted it into a camper. So I got to be a little careful about where I park as to not draw attention to myself. So what I'm going to do here, I want to take you guys around the area that I'm in. And show you the just a few of the places that I've found that I use on a regular basis. My general rule is most of the time I won't stay more than one night in any location. Occasionally I might do 2 nights if it's a little more secluded and I don't see a problem with it. Looking back the last couple of years of me running the neighborhood watch that I was running, we dealt with so many people living in vehicles. It really exploded after COVID, which I completely understand. A lot of people lost their jobs and other things. So when I was traveling, would have been the spring and summer of 2021, I noticed a lot more people on the road. So some people just took the opportunity to go travel like I did. Some people did it because they had no choice. Some people did it because they enjoyed it and wanted to get away from the rat race. Lots of various reasons. But my experience mostly with people living in vehicles, at least where I was with the neighborhood watch, unfortunately, most of them were criminals. People might disagree with me on this, but when you get out there and deal with the majority of the ones, at least the ones that we tend to see or that make themselves known to the public, the ones that stick their heads out, it's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. The ones who aren't causing any trouble, like me, who try to do the right thing, you don't really notice those people because they move around a lot. The ones that end up causing problems for towns are the ones who probably are on the street for their own faults. Either they're criminals with warrants, can't get a job, won't get a job, lots and lots of sex offenders. There's just so many reasons. When we were trying to do the neighborhood watch stuff, people wanted to defend all of them and say, oh, you're just one check away from being on the street yourself. Which really, yeah, it can happen. It can happen. It can happen to anybody. But they use that phrase as a catch-all to defend every single person that's out there living in a vehicle, no matter what bad stuff they're doing. So when I moved into my vehicle, and I would tell people this, yeah, I'm running a neighborhood watch, but I'm also living in my vehicle. It's not like I'm some person living in a $1 million mansion, crapping on the people below me that are living on the street just because I'm filthy rich and I think I'm above them. Wasn't that at all. I chose to live in this vehicle because I wanted to change a lifestyle. I wanted to be able to move around. But I was also raised with, morals and ethics. And it was easy for me to call the bad apples out because I'm sitting around here doing it right. And it's not hard to do it right. If you're not a complete scumbag that doesn't have a job, it's not hard to do it right. So that's why I want to show you some of these locations. As long as you go into it with the mindset of I'm going to be a good neighbor, and I think that's rule number one. It's no different than if you're actually living in a house or an apartment. Be a good neighbor to the people around you. Okay? Don't, have screaming matches every night with your significant other. Don't leave your trash around. Don't let your kids terrorize the neighborhood. The same thing applies when you're living in a vehicle. You got to think about it a little bit different, but an example, it might be legal for you to park on a residential street, even directly in front of somebody's house. Those are public streets. The person that owns the house doesn't own the street. So that might be illegal, but That is absolutely not a cool thing to do. We saw that in the neighborhood watch. These people had absolutely no consideration for anyone else, and they would just park wherever they want for however long they want, leave trash behind, terrorize the neighborhood. That's not okay, and you're going to get crap for it, whether you're homed or homeless. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to show you a few of the areas that I camp around here. Like I said, in other videos, I'm temporarily over here because my mom had to go into a care home, a memory care home. So I'm over here to spend time with her and dad and my sister and her family for a while. So I didn't want to spend the money on rent over here. It's too expensive, you know. So there's legitimate reasons people are living in vehicles right now, and that's absolutely one of them. Rent's gone crazy. Some people blame the landlords, but it's the inflation. I blame the government more than anything. They have screwed our economy up. Inflation's gone crazy, and it's affecting the housing market also. So I am not against people living nomadically. Obviously, my channel's called Occidental Nomad. I think there's a lot of advantages to the nomadic lifestyle. It's fun. I really enjoy it. But yeah, for me, general rules is, number one, be a good neighbor. Number two is probably going to be only camp in a spot one night. You can stretch it a little bit, but try to stick to one night in an area. Move every day. Yeah, you're going to spend a little bit more in gas. Gas will probably be your single largest expense. But you just got to do it to be a good neighbor. You know, nobody wants, even if it's a cul-de-sac with one house down there or whatever, nobody wants you camp there for weeks on end. That's just not cool. So yeah, I'll take you around a few of these areas. Before we do that, just a couple pointers on ways to figure out, ways to find these areas. Now, obviously, yeah, you can just drive around, but that's really gas intensive. You're going to run a lot of gas just driving every street in town trying to find places to camp. So what I did, the easiest for me was to just open Google Maps. So if you're interested in getting into this, open Google Maps for your area, put it on satellite view, and then just start zooming into the streets. Zooming into areas that look like you might be able to camp in them. So dead-end streets are good. Cul-de-sacs, as long as they don't have tons and tons of houses, cul-de-sacs are good. I found that you get a lot of dead-end streets against train tracks, like from both sides of the train tracks. There's a lot of dead ends, and as long as you're not actually on the railroad property, you can find some places to camp at those dead ends. If you find areas on Google Maps, drop a pin on them so you can come back to them. And if it looks really good, see if Street View is available. That'll, give you an even better look at the place instead of wasting your gas and driving over there. So drop down to Street View and pan your camera around and see what it looks like. So that's basically what I did. Even before I moved over here, I had come visit a few times, and I was in my rig, so I was boondocking. So I scouted out some of these areas before I even moved over here, like this time. So I've got about 5, 6, 7 spots that I use on a regular basis, and I've never been bugged or harassed in any of them. Never had anybody, looking at me like, what the heck is that guy doing here? I'm very, very careful about that stuff. Back in the day, I say that it's more like within the last 2 or 3 years, this kind of changed. So I'm sitting here at Walmart. Walmart used to be the place of choice for people who wanted to just spend one night somewhere. Walmart has always left it up to their store managers on whether they allow overnight parking or not. And most of the stores would allow it. This is like pre-COVID. It really changed around COVID. But pre-COVID, most of the stores would allow it because you'd get a bunch of RVers that would come in. Walmart has these huge parking lots. And there's plenty of room for some RVs to park, and most of the time the store gets a benefit from it because they come in and resupply in the store. So Walmart didn't really care. But when COVID hit and more people ended up on the road, and the criminals really started to realize that they could abuse Walmart's courtesy about that, a lot of these stores stopped allowing overnight camping. At a lot of stores, you'll see those, they look like a light tower, but they're actually a mobile surveillance camera. They've put those in to watch the store. And a lot of them have gotten roving security. So this Walmart in particular, I'll show you right over here. That sign right there says no overnight parking, unauthorized vehicle towed at vehicle owner's expense. So this Walmart, actually, as long as I've been coming over here, has not been allowing overnight parking. So it's a smaller Walmart, and they just haven't been allowing it. So the Walmart thing has kind of gone away in a lot of areas, and the people that were camping there have had to find different areas. So, but yeah, that's about all I got to say on that. We'll skip ahead here and into a few clips of areas that I camp around here, and then I'll close it up at the end. All right, see you in a minute. All right, folks, this is the first area that I like to camp. I wanted to show to you. This is one of two rest areas along the interstate highway within just a couple of miles of where I work. Sorry if the road noise is too much, but I'm kind of lucky to have both of these nearby. You can see my rig over there. I'm over here at some nice picnic tables under some trees. So this rest area is kind of a common configuration. On the back side there is where all the long semi truck parking is, and then up front here is passenger vehicles. This rest area is busy enough where I don't get noticed, but it's there's little enough traffic in here where I don't mind taking up a couple spaces up here in the passenger vehicle area. Walk up here real quick. Oop, sorry. So I like the corners where the last passenger vehicle space is. There's a good one right there by that trash can. Half the time I'll pull in there and face my trailer door to the grassy area so Buddy can get out and play on the grass. And then same thing over here. You kind of got to flip around the wrong direction, but facing the sidewalk with grass over here. This is actually the dog area on this side. So, nice thing about rest areas, if you have any nearby, for one, they're called rest areas for a reason. They've almost always got restrooms, trash cans, water, and usually an area for pets. So, they're a really good option if you have these nearby. I know some of you don't, if you're in a more rural area, not along a major highway, but these are great. So I'll park here, I'll park in that area behind. Down here on the other far end is another good, the last spot down there. I think I was actually down there last night. So yeah, rest stop one of two, and then I'll go over to the other one and show you how the other one looks. Okay, this is the second rest stop within just a couple miles of town, the area where I work. So I'm pretty lucky to have two rest stops along a fairly large interstate highway this close. So if you can see, I'm at the end of the rest area. That's the road that goes back out on the highway. So got your highway along here, and basically you got passenger car parking down near the main visitor center, and then this whole center area is for trucks or vehicles with trailers. You can also park kind of along this yellow line if you're a longer vehicle, but this one's really nice for me because you've got this island. Sorry, it's kind of bright. This island at the end of the rest area with some trees and some cover. And I usually just come in here and pull right along this, and you're usually fairly well separated from everybody else. So these two rest stops get a lot of traffic. So I think that's a part of the reason they've been so good for me. When there's this much traffic, they pay less attention to who's in here. Obviously, if you tried to camp here for days or weeks on end, you'd probably get chased out by the attendant. But we got a dog area over there. I don't know if you can see them because it's so bright, but there's some nice picnic tables underneath the trees over there. So, yeah, this one's good. As with any area, check with your state laws and regulations on rest areas. I've noticed Oregon is really lenient for the most part on how long you can stay. Some other states I've seen, they're like, 2-hour max, 3-hour max, which is kind of crazy to me. It's called a rest area. You should be able to stay at least 6-8 hours, I'd imagine. But yeah, some states do not allow it. So look into rest areas, but find out if yours are usable or not. All right, here's a cul-de-sac here in town. Hope you guys can hear me okay. The wind's blowing pretty good. But this cul-de-sac is just one block off the main drive in town. We got this, the sun's gonna block a little bit, but there's a Coca-Cola bottling plant right over here. Probably can't see it very well. But this cul-de-sac, there's basically nothing here. They just built that building, but it's a nice, big, wide cul-de-sac, and it butts up against this agricultural field that's behind the bottling plant. So, plenty of room here, kind of a half industrial area, half agricultural. Good place to park. I especially like this because with the bottling plant here, there's a lot of trucks in and out all day long, and the trucks will actually park. They've got a wide spot marked on this side of the road. They'll park along the road there. I've seen the trucks camped overnight. So with that much, industrial traffic in and out, I haven't had any problems camping here for a week. So it's I'm going to take you across the street, actually the same street, straight across the main drag. It's another dead end, and I'll show you that one next. Okay, now we're on the opposite end of that road. The intersection is down there, the Coke bottling plant that we were just showing you. So down here, same thing, there's a agricultural field on that side. There's a church here, but then it just dead ends. Sorry, you're gonna get some sun. Dead ends right at another field. And I usually just pull in right there. So I've pulled right along that curb before also, no problem. It's a nice wide road. So there is a house right there that I've seen the occupants, they kind of just drive on the edge of this field. So I don't know if this is technically an unimproved road that runs along the edge of the field here, but there's nothing there and there's never anybody down here. So yeah, another good spot. I like dead ends. Another place to look for dead ends is where roads end against the train tracks. There's one, I won't take you over there, but there's one just south of town. If you follow the country road a couple miles south, it just dead ends right along the train tracks, actually on both sides, so you can camp on either side of the train tracks. You just got to get to it from opposite sides of town. That's a good rural camping location within about 3 miles of town. So yeah, depending on your location, you might be able to find a lot of these or none of these. You can even find them in larger towns. Larger cities with big industrial areas have a lot of this type of stuff. So, all right, yeah, that's another good public road camping spot, and we'll move on to the next one. This spot is a really good example of a dead-end public street that you might want to camp on. So we got it's not really a cul-de-sac, kind of dead ends in a T. This road comes down here. So the nearest house is beyond those trees, but it's actually I think they run a septic business out of there, so I don't think they care too much. But I'm just tucked here in the corner, not really visible too much. This dead ends against this container rental and storage place. So to get here, you have to go through a fairly nice subdivision way down the road there, which I don't normally like camping in residential areas, but this one's far enough down this dead end road with some trees. It works out good. You got the highway on one side here, some agricultural farmland before you get to the subdivision. So this is kind of a weird buffer zone that kind of just gets ignored. It dead ends here, and it doesn't even connect to this highway. You can't even get over there. You have to go back all the way through the subdivision and like a mile around to get back to the main road. So if your area doesn't have strict rules against camping on public streets, on city streets, you can definitely get away with parking in these areas. I would still only do one night. One of the key important factors to this is to move around all the time. People get really sick, even in a fairly secluded area, when they see vehicles parked days and days and days on end. So one day, 2 max probably, and then move on to another spot. So, all right, let's go find another one. All right, so this spot is going to be my first example of some private property that I'm comfortable enough to camp on for a night here and a night there. We're behind an old mall here. This is like an overflow parking lot behind the mall. It's not really marked no trespassing or anything. When you're feeling these type of places out, you really got to check around for no camping, no parking, no trespassing signs. Maybe watch the area for a little bit. This one I did watch because I had seen people occasionally camp back here, towing trailers or RVs, short term. Pretty bright out here. And the other thing that I see back here all the time on this other side over here is trucks, like semi-trucks. There's a Tractor Supply over there. This whole center of the mall's empty, and then there's a few more stores down at the end of the mall, but this section right in front of me is totally empty. But the semis will park back here, and the drivers will sleep before their, if they get here before their deliveries are due. So I would never really recommend camping on private property until you really feel it out. This one I'm comfortable enough now to do a night here or a night there, like I said. I've never stayed here more than one night. And I've never had a single problem with either employees or, there doesn't seem to be any security at this place. Never any problems with truck drivers, no cops, no nothing. So there have been a few people back here, just as is usual, that come back and park along here and leave trash. You can see, I don't know what that is, a chunk of carpet or something. And they've thrown some stuff in here and in the bushes. But it's just kind of a neglected lot behind the mall, and it works out for camping. So if you choose a place like this, just make sure you be a good neighbor. Don't argue with somebody if they tell you to leave. It is what it is, and occasionally you have to camp in a place like this. So yeah, there's my first example of private property that you might be able to get away with if you're careful. Okay, this spot is one you might not normally think of as a place to camp. Sorry if there's a lot of road noise. So we're along a surface road here, but it butts up right against the interstate highway. So there's a lot of traffic through here, but you got these nice wide shoulders. And then directly across the street is just a big empty lot. There is a house there, But this is such a high traffic kind of industrial area that I've never had any issues. Definitely not a spot if you care about tons and tons of road noise. I kind of like the hum of cars going past at night, so it doesn't really bug me. But I've camped here quite a few times. I never see anybody else along here, so maybe they just haven't even thought about it. So yeah, you wouldn't normally think of this because of the level of traffic. You generally go to quieter areas, but sometimes if you can find an industrial area like this, it works out pretty good. All right, on to the next one. All right, this spot I haven't actually camped in myself, but I've seen quite a few other people here. Usually it's semi-trucks that pull off in this and sleep for the night. We're right along a state highway. And then right over here, you make this right-hand turn kind of around this gravel area, and it goes over along this other surface street to a state recreation area along the river. So basically, you just end up with this big gravel teardrop-shaped area. There's been a bunch of big trucks on this side lately, and they've torn it up, turned it into mud, but I think this is basically just state highway easement. So this is also a good place to park. Easements on highways can be really, really good because people pull off to sleep, pull off to rest, trucks pull off, so you don't really get noticed too much. But like I said, I haven't tried this one yet, but I'll probably use it in the future. All right, I'm back in my trailer. I found a place to stay for the night. I actually used the one spot that I mentioned in the clips that I hadn't actually camped in at all. Decided to park there for the night and see how it goes. So, yeah, it's just a few of the areas that I like to camp. Like I said before, I've never had any problems with any of them. No cops have chased me off. No angry neighbors have come after me. Nothing like that. So one type of area that I didn't mention, and we actually have two good ones around here, are truck stops. We've got a Flying J and we have a Love's. Just like all the other types of camping, you need to investigate truck stops because they're primarily, overnight there for the use of the truck drivers, but a lot of them, particularly in the areas that get a lot more tourist travel, don't really care if you camp overnight. You can just kind of blend in with the trucks. I don't like to take up a spot that a truck would go in, especially if the truck stop is busy. That's just being rude again. But truck stops are good. Sometimes they'll let you only if you're a customer. So like the two truck stops around here, I get gas at them all the time. Probably the best thing to do is to go inside and either get gas or buy something cheap and then ask the cashier, hey, is it all right for passenger vehicles to stay the night? So and I think most of these places will probably allow it, especially along, like I said, the bigger tourist areas and along major truck routes. I don't really see it being a problem. One of these days I'll try both those truck stops and see what the attendants say, and maybe do a short video on that. So like I said before, number one rule, be a good neighbor. Doesn't matter where you camp, act like you're their actual neighbor in a house. Don't be crazy. Don't leave trash around. Don't overstay your welcome. Don't park where you wouldn't want somebody to park. If you had a house, try and reverse your positions. Think like you're the person in the house and they're the one camping. Would you want them out there? That's why I stay away from residential areas. It's a dick move. It really is a dick move to try and, park right in front of somebody's house. And I've seen it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, probably thousands of times, where these, I'll say it, worthless bums in their piece of crap trailers, falling apart, sewage leaking everywhere, park these things right in front of somebody's house. And then it's like pulling teeth trying to get them out of there because A lot of times it's illegal because it's a city street. But, I mean, would you want some piece of trash trailer parked right in front of your house? I sure wouldn't. So, there's a way to, I hate to say enforce, but there's a way to have a happy medium, I guess, of this. We don't need to freak out every time we see somebody in their vehicle and make assumptions that they're a bad guy. But the opposite is always true. The ones that actually are bad guys need to get called out because they ruin this for everyone else. Everyone like me that does it the right way and is, trying to be the nice guy, he gets his camping areas ruined because some jerk comes along and causes problems. The troublemakers are, I've said this to people in the neighborhood watch, the troublemakers are a small percentage of the population, but they punch way above their weight. They cause so much trouble all over the place, and it's just repeat offenders over and over and over again, that it makes it seem like the majority are bad people. They're not. The majority, you don't even see them. You see a vehicle one night and it's gone the next. It's these criminals. It's the same reason people think that gun violence is such a problem. I heard some statistic earlier that, you go to Chicago where the gun violence is so bad, and it's, sure, there's a lot of shootings, but it's the same 1,000 criminals doing criminal stuff over and over and over again. The city's huge. 1,000 people's nothing. So it's these small minorities that are doing the vast majority of the troublemaking that ruin this for everybody else. So, in summary, pull up Google Maps, look for areas. If you're going to be in like a specific area like I am, where I'm camping in basically 2 or 3 towns right next to each other for long periods of time, make sure you research the city's parking and camping ordinances. Some have them, some don't. There were some court rulings a few years back. There was one from Grants Pass was the big one, where Grants Pass really clamped down on people living on the street. And they might have gone a little too far, but it ended up being, going to I think it was the Ninth Circuit. And ultimately, Grants Pass won. So they had to back off for a while, and now they're allowed to be a little bit more strict for a while. But these laws that gets passed by county commissions, city councils, they go in cycles. So if an area starts to have a problem with transients and crime and causing problems, they sometimes pass laws that are stricter than need be, and ruin it for everybody else. And then sometimes those get slapped down by the courts. So make sure you research the area you're in, the city and county rules on camping in public places. The first thing that'll get you in trouble is camping on private property without permission. That's the very worst thing. The second thing that'll get you in trouble is camping on public property where the municipality has banned it. So, another thing you can do is if you're in a city that has pretty much banned public camping, a lot of those cities, this happened in Coos Bay and North Bend, they designated certain areas where you were allowed to park for overnight. Basically, they banned it on the residential streets, but then in an industrial area or whatever, they allowed it in that certain area. So if you look up their code, it'll say that, and then that gives you a ready-made place where you can stay for the night. Do be aware that if you're in one of these areas that has a huge criminal homeless population, I'm talking criminal homeless population, not general homeless, criminals, druggies, sex offenders, what have you, a lot of those places that you're allowed to camp will have basically been taken over by them, because they'll camp wherever they want anyway, but then when the city gives them permission to camp there, they really take over. So Coos Bay, North Bend's dealing with that. So it's not nearly as bad on this side of the state. There's some issues over here, but there's like 2 or 3 vehicles, people that I know are living in their vehicles. One lady that I met lives in her van. There's a truck pulling a crappy trailer that is the only one that I've seen that's like what we would call a troublemaker over here. They're constantly like letting their dogs run loose and screaming bloody murder and fighting with each other. And heck, I'm right next to the state recreation area here, and I pull in there one day, and they were pulled into a spot, and right next to them, in the next spot over in the parking lot, this is a painted parking space. They had a giant pile of wood, and he gets out and pours either gasoline or lighter fluid all over the thing and just lights the entire pile of wood on fire for a campfire right in the middle of a public parking space in a state recreation area. And this stuff just drives me nuts. Like, you want to go over there and scream at them, but it really doesn't do any good, I guess. So, moral of the story is, don't be that guy. Don't be the guy that sets a bonfire in a public parking space. So, yeah, so this is just the first video on this. If I find any other good spots or any other pointers for how to camp carefully and be a good neighbor while you're doing it, I'll let you guys know. So that's the end. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. I know this stuff is pretty, hate to call it low quality, but I don't do video editing really. You're just going to get kind of candid clips from me. So, and I'll the best I can do is stitch them together. You're not going to get any fancy music or, stuff like that. Just don't have any interest in doing it. I'd rather have a candid view of how my life's going and how things are in real life out here. Too many of these channels, in my opinion, show this like crazy glamorous side. Oh, you're out glamping. Oh, you're off-grid van life in some like $250,000 Mercedes camper van. Vast majority of people can't afford that, and sure, it's good entertainment, but I want to try and show people what the average person with a fairly small budget can do if they just decide they want to live in their vehicle and putt around and see different areas and have fun. So yeah, like, share, and subscribe if you like the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.